Hey everybody, it's another one of those coffee breaks with DTM. I got my cup. Go get your cup right now so we can have us a little bit of coffee. What do you drink? Tea or coffee? I'm a kind of coffee guy. Sometimes I do tea, but it's mostly coffee. It's all about the coffee. All right, this is DTM, Coffee Break with DTM. We're going to get started right now. Find me anywhere on the internet, Delta Tango Mike. Let's go. And then right now people can see my picture and they can hear me, and I'm okay with that. It's live stream, right? So you just roll with
Yeah,
it.
you do a good job. I have to do my intro like 50 times.
Yeah. Even if you get it wrong, it doesn't matter. Let's
Okay.
go ahead and get back.
Yeah, awesome.
When it comes to live streaming and producing content, you should just go with yourself, be who you are. And then as time goes on, you learn and get better and better. So this time we have an amazing, talented, accomplished author. And tell us your name and where you're from.
I am dleeinspires. I'm from California, but I've been a
Nice.
resident here in Atlanta, Georgia for about 10 years. So you might as well say
That's it. You're a
I'm a
Georgia.
Georgia peach
That's
now, right?
We're from California.
San Bernardino,
Okay.
Southern California.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I'm from LA, so it's down the
Oh,
street.
awesome. Right. Absolutely. Not too far. Not too far.
Yes. What brought you to Atlanta?
Parents.
Uh,
Yeah, they separated him. My dad must have did something very, very bad for her to move across the country.
wow. All right.
Yeah, but what's awesome is that the dynamics of the relationship is great.
Okay.
And ever since I was a kid, I always went back for 6 months in California, 6 months in Georgia. So
Nice.
yeah.
So a little bit of traveling and seeing
a
the
little
world.
bit of everything.
I like that. That's good. Everybody should have a chance to travel a little bit. Get
Yeah.
somewhere. Go somewhere. Yes. Somewhere different. So tell us a little bit about what you do. And I know you're a writer.
Yes.
And with a very interesting, accomplished story, right? Because you
Yes.
have to go from one place to another. So
Right.
tell us a little bit about that. Tell us of what you're
Well, I'm Dealey Inspires. I'm a self-publishing consultant. What I do is I assist individuals with sharing their stories, turning it into books, and then turning it into a business. It came about from my own personal experience of hitting the brick wall and just going into a really dark place where I was tired of being rejected. I was tired of saying all the no's. I was tired of trying and nothing was working. And until, a lady with the mustard seed, where just sharing my story, really helped me to transition to the other side of things and my perspective and perception on life. From that, since 2012, I am a public speaker. I'm a five-time best-selling author.
Nice.
Also, I had the opportunity to partner with entities such as Microsoft stores nationwide, also with Payless shoe stores at the time,
Cool.
and along with other restaurants and local businesses too as well, by doing a nationwide tour with a group of authors. So the whole mantra of this movement is not just with their stories per se, but to get a group of people, inspire people to inspire others, and we do it together by moving as one. And once more people start seeing us, a group of people working together of different backgrounds, ages, race, genders, and creed, and religion, it gives other people permission to do the same.
Okay. Nice. And I think that's awesome because once you find an opportunity that works for you and you realize the process or what it takes for you, then you want to see other people succeed.
Absolutely.
I like that. Yes, that's great. So tell us about when was it that you started as a creative? What was your first taste of creativity? Was it writing? Was it drawing? Was it something, acting? I want to say modeling or something, right? What was that? How old were you? What was going on in your life?
Well, I was always, well, I feel as though that I was always creative. I remember being in high school, doing poetry, always thinking of innovative ideas. I remember working at Kroger at one time and trying to tell the manager on how to get more customers. And I was like, working for someone is not for me because it's just one streamlined way of doing things. However, in high school, I had a 3.8 GPA.
Okay.
I had 2 basketball scholarships.
Wow.
On my way to college in pursuit of the American dream. Okay, both of my parents had everything set up. And 2 weeks after I graduated from high school, going for one of the highest highs of my life, at that time at 17, your family is around, everybody is telling you you're doing an awesome job, you're representing the family and have an opportunity. And I wanted to be a translator, a foreign translator, and work in translating maybe in the court system or different businesses too as well. And 2 weeks after I graduated, I found myself on the other side of the law. And from that, I was charged with 11 counts of armed robbery and 5 counts of aggravated assault. And at 17 years old, I was facing 135 years in prison here in the state of Georgia.
Okay.
All because I wanted to be cool. I didn't like my mom's rules. I thought I was grown at the same time. And then also, too, if there's any young people or parents that may be watching this, I thought I would never get caught because of the background and the environment that I was raised. I think something like that or that when it happened to a person like me with good grades and everything going for themselves.
Yeah, that you were smarter than the system.
Oh, yeah. I thought I was so smarter than the system. And then, I quickly found out that it's regardless of how smart you are or this and the other, that you can't find yourself on there. Well, from that, I spent 4 years in prison.
Okay.
So I like to tell people instead of 4 years at college, it was 4 years in a different institution. But for me, it was college. As a creative, I think what transferable skills from me being in prison was being okay with being alone. Because sometimes when you start creating, not everybody is going to understand what you're trying to translate that you actually see in your mind as a thought or an idea, and you're really trying to move forward to make it tangible. Well, once I was released from prison, that was the hardest experience ever. It wasn't in prison. It wasn't before prison, though all that was traumatic. It was once I was released. Because for 6 years, I tried to not only, of course, get a job, but they do background checks on school, government grants. They do background checks on apartments.
Yeah.
So where am I supposed to stay? How am I supposed to get a job to be able to stay out of prison?
Yeah.
Even as a cosmetologist, you can go to school for cosmetology. But once you go take your state board exam, there's 46 state board exam jobs as far as like bus driver, barber, the list goes on, that they do a background check. You can take the test, but then what happens? So as you can imagine, going through that from 6 years, I started, said the only way out at that time was entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And I started by graphic designing with transforming people's photos into like characters.
Okay.
And selling them as gifts, and it was called What a Gift.
Mm-hmm.
Then I made toe bows, like bows on little flip-flops for kids, and used to sell those at consignment shops.
Uh-huh.
And then I did the photo booth business too as well, and invested in that. And then also the list goes on in regards of all these different types of businesses that I tried, and they all failed. And I invested a lot of money, and they kept failing. It wasn't that I wasn't making money; it just wasn't scaling.
Right.
And so I was like, what is going on? I need to make money, and the money that I was making, of course, I was investing it back into the business, getting materials and different things like that.
Yeah.
And so somebody might be watching this right now saying how they might be wanting to be that creative. They might be in business, and they might not see it going anywhere. And so then I fell into a deep depression because I'm saying, hey, look, I went to prison, I study, I love researching, I love, learning new things. I'm very inquisitive about a lot of things, and then you go through those 6 years of just trying and failing, trying and failing. And the hardest thing for a convicted felon is we beat ourselves up more than anything, because at that time, now I'm an adult, I'm not 17 anymore, and so the way people looked at me wasn't as, oh, let me help you. You're a teenager. They're
Mhm.
like, you should know this
Mhm.
because you're this age. And the truth is there's a lot of things that I didn't know how to do.
Mhm.
And so my family didn't really understand. I mean, they were very supportive the best way they knew how, but they're like, the bill is still due,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, you
So,
know,
did you have times where you sat down and when you're embarking on this entrepreneurship path, decide that you some of these businesses that you're starting were kind of coming from your own creativity, or were you looking for kind of business ideas that could pan out?
it came from my own creativity
Uh huh.
and also business ideas. So I wanted to mesh both of them together. Something that I really enjoy doing, that I can make money and to, be financially stable so I can get on my feet and start a new life, right?
Mhm.
And so with those business ideas, I used to always think of different things to create, but of course I didn't have the revenue for
Mhm.
it. So for me, the businesses was the funds, and my thought pattern was the funds to order to fuel this big
Mhm.
idea that I wanted to create. And so all these different opportunities were coming, even outside of video and live streaming, that at that time, because of the internet, the resources were there. You just had to
Mhm.
find. Hey,
Mhm.
Dan, I tell people, I got my PhD from Google University. And then I tell them I
Right.
got my master's degree from YouTube
That's right.
University.
That's correct.
And then I tell them I'm enrolled in Periscope Community
Mm.
College.
Hey, there you go. That's great. That's good. And and I think that's the
Right,
reality that we living in today.
right.
For even with our shortcomings, and it was a big hit that you took going to prison and all.
Right,
But the good thing is that there's if you are that kind of person who is into research, who likes looking things up, who likes finding out for themselves, and has that interest, then you definitely will find the information that you need. And it's just about being the kind of person that you need to take a step. And I think with your situation, it forced you, because the jobs do background checks and your
that's
background shows
true.
up, and then you get passed over for somebody else
That
who
is
does
so
not have that
true.
background. So you were forced into it. It's like, well, I have to do something,
That's true.
and that's great. It's a great story, and I know I need to let you talk. I'm sorry, but it's a great story
No, it's
because
okay.
you actually you did the YouTube University and all the Google
Right,
information, and decided to do something about it and not fall into despair and then become another story that
right,
fell off to the wayside
right.
after prison.
Right. I think when we talk about pain or traumatic experiences, I think sometimes the reason why people keep going through the same experience over and over again because it doesn't hurt enough.
Mm.
You
uh,
know, like
you saying you
prison
using my
was
words? These are
like,
my words. Go ahead. Go ahead.
oh, okay,
I always talk
like
about this,
prison,
huh?
like I refuse to go back to that. That
Mhm.
place it's traumatic. It was
Mhm.
like I would not wish anyone in there. And
Mhm.
at 17,
Mhm.
so I was like, and so when you're saying like it forced me, it did because I was like, okay, it has to work. It has to work. I know I'm not the only convicted felon out here. And
Mhm.
I know there has to be someone who made it, who is successful or who got a new or life. You hear about stories like that. And I was trying to find a story that resonated with me to continue to get hope. But
Mhm.
then I fell in depression and I wanted to commit suicide because I was just tired of being tired.
Yeah.
And so the stranger, I love meeting new people because
Mhm.
of her. And I met her in the nail salon. My mom, she says, hey, you want to go get your nails done or whatever with her? And I said, yeah, sure. But she didn't know I was going to commit suicide that night.
Okay.
So I go, I shaved off all my hair, and I was like, maybe in the next lifetime, because this is not going
Mhm.
what I'm thinking it's going. Anyhow, she spoke to me and I told her my background and she just gave me a lot of like love. Like she was like, okay,
Mhm.
meet me for coffee the next day. So she basically, without her knowing, ruined my suicidal plans because I met her the next day.
Mhm.
And I had that pity party, had that release, and just laid it out all on her.
Mhm.
And she was like, okay, just like you, like, oh, okay. And I'm like, no, you're not understanding what I'm experiencing right now, because she doesn't still, I'm not open to tell her, hey, look, I'm about to commit suicide, because I'm just serious about it. Like, I'm trying to get her to understand how desperate I am. And so she goes into her purse and she pours some mustard seeds in my hand. She said, give me your hand. And she pours mustard seeds in my hand, Dan. So, you know me, after everything I just explained to you guys, okay, I don't want no mustard seed, right? I need a job. I need some money. I need an opportunity. I need a chance. And I picked up that mustard seed and said, I've been in church all my life. I know what these are. Faith is a mustard seed, move mountains. Okay. If you don't know, this is all the faith I have left. And she says, that's all the faith you need. And I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, I'm picking up this little seed. I'm like, this is all I got left. She said, that's all you need. And she was talking about speaking to your mountains. Sometimes your problems stack up so high they become your mountains. And actually speak what you see. So when it comes to being a creative, oftentimes, if not, I don't know what the percentage is, a lot of us are introverts. The creators are introverts when we get in our cubbyhole and we want to all of our thoughts there, and that's our happy place. But if we really want to create what we think about or what we imagine it to be, then we have to also speak it, act as if it already is. So when someone says, hey, what is it that you do? Or where do you work? I am a doctor. You see, it has power. Even if you're in school to be a doctor, start saying that you are, or what, industry that you're in, and you will unconsciously become that and start changing your habits and moods and everything else and towards that.
You give more power to that little mustard seed.
Right, and it just
you imagine that mustard seed being that tree, or I don't know what a mustard
do you know it grows 20 feet tall?
Right, so there you go. You need to imagine that when you're looking at this.
Right.
And that's why you need at least that much.
Right.
'Cause
I
you gotta,
always wonder, like, why does God say a mustard seed and not an apple seed? It's small too, right? Right?
Right.
Like, what is it about it? But it has a root system that whatever other plant or anything that's in its way, what it does, and the roots engulf it into its own, and it's like deeply rooted, and it grows 20 feet tall.
Wow.
So when you have your idea, you don't have to prove that you're serious by doing a lot of things everywhere, right?
Right.
But if you're just deeply rooted, automatically your tree will grow limbs. But I think a lot of people are focused on planting a lot of trees, and they don't understand that this one tree can grow multiple limbs in so many directions. So I'm one tree with my story.
Right.
To now sharing my story, working with the United States Attorney's Office, working with the feds now in regards of preventing teenagers from incarceration, and sharing my story. That's another limb of this whole mustard seed. Also, they're purchasing my books and helping other people, selling over 20,000 copies of my book. That's not even heard of.
That's beautiful.
It's like using transferable skills, but these are all branches, helping all these authors worldwide share their stories from a place of power.
Yes.
Also sharing their instructional material too, as well, to help more people. And it creates more branches.
Nice.
But don't focus more so on, for the people who are watching, on planting a lot of trees, because this one tree, when the acorns fall, they will automatically produce more trees, and that's when moving together is one. If I can help you reach as many people as possible, like you're doing here in Cinemaker, you're helping us reach more people as possible. You too are still changing the world.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm
inspiring the world.
And I'm glad there are people who see that.
I do.
That's all I want. That's all I want.
It's
yes,
a
that's right.
thing.
That's right. So okay, we're gonna come back to that to what that day with the mustard seeds in your hand in 1 second. We're gonna come back to that. I said that you were using my words, because I like to tell artists the same thing, is that they have to start imagining,
right,
and start speaking into what their role. So and when I see artists saying future animator, or future comic book artist, like, take the word future off,
right,
and just say that that's what you're working on.
That's powerful.
Yes, that's right. Let's step into it. And so that's what I mean when I say using the words.
Elaborate on that. That's really powerful.
Well,
Because a lot of people say that. They say
yes.
future or aspiring author, future.
And so what I like to tell people is that you number one have to have that vision, which is why you're saying you're going to be future something, and that's good. But then you have to start playing that role now by doing that practice. So if you want to be a future comic book artist, don't wait till you're hired as a comic book artist and say, well, yeah, I'm a comic book artist now. You start drawing comics now. Maybe nobody reads them.
Right.
Maybe you get a few hits and a few likes on it. That's
Right.
okay. But you have to get into that practice now so that when somebody hands you cash to do the work, you're used to putting 40 hours into it. So I can't say I'm going to be a future Olympian and I don't ever step into the racetrack, to the track to run and practice and stuff. I have to get used to that now. I have to go ahead and hit the track and go to the high school and run around, do my laps if I want to get into the Olympics.
Right.
So that the day that I am asked to come in and say, hey, you made it, you made it into third place, you get to go to the Olympics. I've been practicing enough that when I am in the Olympics, now I can go ahead and do the job because I put in the time. And so a lot of people, and I want to say artists and creators because that's mostly what I deal with, is that they always say this future thing, and it's like, well, what are you doing now? Oh, I play video games, I do work, and I hang out, and well, wait a minute, but you want to live this other life that's going to take so much out of you that if you don't practice this now and start speaking and looking at yourself that way, then it's going to be somebody else going to get chosen who has been doing that and not you.
I think the biggest question, too, is, that people ask is, like, when is it going to happen for them when you talk about the future? Like, oh, I'm just going to keep looking forward and this, that, and the other. But like you said, the question is when your opportunity comes, will you be ready? So you do definitely have to practice. Les Brown said something like that about speaking one time.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
No. I know Les Brown.
He was saying, it motivated me a lot. He said, if you don't speak, like if you're a public speaker and you don't speak for like, let's say 6 months, not even on video or anything, and you don't share your story for 6 months, you can tell when you're kind of slacking off, right?
Right.
You could tell like that wasn't the best. You weren't at your...
When you come back to it, it doesn't sound as smooth, huh?
And if you don't keep practicing, is what he keeps saying. It's like you were saying. And then he says, well, and then if you wait 7 months, the people will start to notice. And so you have to keep continuously practice at it. And so he says something, an analogy towards that too as well about, hey, look, you're not telling the person to not just take off the future. I don't think this is what I'm digesting from it, because I think this is awesome.
Okay.
Is that you're not just telling them to take it and say, hey, just go out there and be the whole full Olympian. No, do a little bit towards it, because eventually it's going to happen regardless of which direction you're going to go. It may even change, but at least you have transferable skills. And that's what happened for me with having all these businesses, legitimate businesses, and failing. Now I have a business that's thriving because it's transferable skills. From making the photos, I kind of know how to do a flyer, you see? And so in regards of the Tobos, I kind of know how to make my own products, for my company and merchandise.
Right.
And then, drop shipping and print on demand, and the list goes on. And, it's like transferable skills. So you're absolutely right, Dan. I think
you were
that's
training
amazing.
This whole time.
Right.
for that
right,
one actual thing that was going to make it
right,
happen. Yep.
Right.
Yep. And I think that
Wow.
the other part that I wanted to mention is that when you stop saying this future thing and you start living it now, no matter what level you're in, there's a certain energy about you.
Okay.
So that when you come across another group that is similar, you start feeling that energy.
Right.
When you go up for an interview or for meetings or something that dealing with that thing that you want, you can feel that energy.
Right.
And so then you are more accepted into that role than when somebody who's not practicing. And as another example is when I talk to artists all the time, they tell me what they want to do, what kind of art they want to do, and I say, okay, show me your portfolio. And they show me old drawings. Oh, I did that in high school. Well, what you do yesterday?
Yeah.
What you do this morning before you came to see
Right.
me? Oh, I haven't drawn in a while. It's like, well, you can't get that job.
Right.
You know, you got to have current stuff. You constantly have to have it and see it, and that energy is going to flow through you.
Right.
And if you don't have, you're not practicing, there's not energy there, then people will feel it,
Right.
and then choose the next person who does have it. So it's an energy thing also.
So how do you tell someone if they feel like okay, this is what they want to do, that artist, and they haven't been drawing for a while, but they want to step back into it, but maybe they haven't done something, just recently and stepping into that whole process. What would you tell them on how to get their, for lack of a better terms, how to get their groove back?
Right.
What if it's still a passion for theirs, but they're kind of like, you know how you can be stagnant,
right?
And like,
and
how do you get back
life gets in the
that?
way.
Right.
Life gets in the way too.
What
Well, it
would you
depends on
tell
who I'm
them?
talking to and how much time I have.
Right.
The more time I have, the more I dig into their story,
Okay.
dig into their current life, and then I can help them maneuver and master their time. It's called time management. Because, and I know a lot of artists like this who they get caught up in responsibilities.
That's true.
They have families, they have children, they have heartache, bad situations that they have to deal with, and so some think that art or being this creative person getting paid for it is going to change their whole life, and it's like the struggle's still the same. You're just the creative guy, person getting paid. That's your job. That's just replace the job that you have now or the job you don't have. It's just the job. But dealing with life situations is still the same thing. I have a family, I have children, I have grandchildren, I have another grandchild coming on the way, mother to deal with. She's in California. And so we all have these stresses that happen all the time. And so by me hearing more about their story, then I can pinpoint, say, before I tell you to draw 100 drawings and have them ready by the end of the month, I need you to start managing your time. When I hear they have video games, when I hear that they're Fortnite or whatever video game is popular, Minecraft, masters, I'm like, yeah, well, let's turn that off. Depending on who they are, I can say, turn that off, put that away, and that time that you're spending in that, put it into drawing. And if they have real problems that need more time, I said, well, you need to focus on that first.
Okay.
Because that's keeping you from the creative stuff. And when we have a lot of stress and problems, a lot of people can't turn on that creativity. In my experience, in something you said earlier today, I know I'm getting a little caught up over here.
No, I'm interested. I'm all
right.
in. I'm listening.
Something that you said was, dang it, I forgot it. In my experience, is that art to me and drawing to me has been my place, my small world. And I can go like this, but it really expands depending on how many drawings I got and pencils and so on. It becomes that place where I can shut off the world. And when I'm sad, happy, upset, stressed out, I can come to drawing and I feel better. Because I kind of understand that I control this environment. Whatever I put on the paper, I control it. And so it's become my place that I can get to no matter what's going on in my life. And I think that's one of the things that I try to let artists know, and you mentioned this before, is that what hurts more? Does the going to the job, that 9-to-5 job, which blessed all the people who have to deal with that, because that's what you do, right? That's that's what your life is about. But does that hurt more than staying up one night a week practicing your artwork?
Right.
Does that hurt more? What hurts more in your life that should motivate you to go ahead and start this creative process and find the creative ways that you're going to be able to get into your zone? And so I was in the Marine Corps. I didn't go to college, so I would say Marine Corps was my college. And noisy, tons of people, crazy people. I mean, you don't have to be crazy to be in the military, but it helps.
Right.
And I had to find my time to draw in those in that period, and so I can draw with noise all around me. The pain of not drawing is greater than me being uncomfortable trying to draw something. And you mentioned that part, the paint, and so that's what I try to get to artists, that no matter what's going on in your life, you should be able to find that little bit of time.
Right.
And I know this one artist, he likes drawing big pictures, big pictures. Every time you see him, you'll see him for 3 times in 1 month. He's still working on the same piece. And I always thought, man, you're slow. But now I look back and it's like, you know what? That dude tries to find any little bit of time to work on that drawing.
Right.
And you don't have to have 3-5 hours to sit down and work on this big piece. If you can just find 20-30 minutes every now and then. So let me get back to this drawing.
Right.
You know, okay, I gotta go check on my child. I have to go do this. I have to clock back in. Lunchtime, whatever. I don't know. That's just another way that I like to illustrate that you have to find the time. You have to work your way through it, and the desire and passion for creativity should be greater than anything else that's going on in your life.
That's awesome. That's inspiring.
I went off. I'm sorry.
That sounds like a TED talk. Like,
right. Yeah. I got 5 or 6 of those.
Very, very inspiring.
Thank you. We have to find what works for us. And so when you ask a question like, you know, what do you tell them? Well, it depends on the person.
Of course.
You know, everybody's different. And but I like to hear a little bit more of their story, so then I can find, well, we can sneak some art right here. We can sneak some creativity right there, you know, once in a while.
That's amazing.
Thank you. Anyways, you're speaking my language. Everything you said today is exactly what I like to tell people. So tell us what happened at that after that mustard conversation. What did you do?
Oh man.
What started this whole path? Because that, to me, that seems like that point where it was the thinnest.
The very thinnest. So, you know, after that, you know, she used to call and check on me once a week, 10 minutes a week. It wasn't long, drawn-out conversations.
Became your mentor.
She wasn't trying to mentor, but it wasn't really a mentor. It was like, hey, how you doing? Okay, I have a task for you. Do this. So she made me write a bio. I'm like, what am I writing a bio for? I never wrote a bio before. She made me watch videos about interviewing. And I'm like, okay, I must be getting a job. I don't know. She was telling me things about affirmations. So some of my affirmations were the most powerful one that I like to share is that I forgive myself for everything that I've endured. Because I think everyone around me forgave me and didn't judge me or anything. But I think it was very difficult that I was still blaming myself and punishing myself, or felt like I didn't get punished enough, I guess. And so
you were carrying that energy and that weight.
Right, just carrying it. And so I had to always say, you know, I forgive myself. It's okay. And so I was at Taco Bell, and I never thought about being an author. It never crossed my mind.
Okay.
Never thought public speaking. Never crossed my mind. I just wanted to create. But I didn't even know. So I was just going about my daily life. I said, you know what? I tried everything else. I, you know, did this. Let me just do everything this lady's telling me, and let's see if this works out before I just call it quits. So I was at Taco Bell, Dan, in the drive-thru, and I get this call from this random number. Now, I wasn't going to answer it, but I did. And it was a pastor from Stronghold Christian Church who I grew up with, but, you know, I haven't been to church in a very long time. And he was like, you know, hi, this is Pastor Ben, and is this Desiree? And I was like, yeah, this is her. And so he says, I've been trying to find you. I've been trying to, all this thing and everything else. And he was like, I need you to come share your story at MLK. He also works with the DeKalb County Police Department.
Okay.
So I said, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. So I go, this is my first speaking engagement. When I get home, I come home and I said, Mom, you wouldn't believe it. A pastor called me, and I'm about to go speak at MLK High School. So I reached in my purse to get some change, and guess what was stuck under my nail? A mustard seed. I called just Stacy. I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for pouring into me. You didn't have to do it. Like I was reminded. And she said, you know what, I spoke to you because what you were going through, you look like what I just came out of. And I said, well, thank you for not giving up while you were going through.
Yeah.
And so with just that moment, out of going through that for 6 years, just to think that I was going to commit suicide, and I couldn't just wait 30 more days for that breakthrough. And I told her, I said, when I told her, thank you for not giving up on this part. And a lady by the name of Dama Rouse, when she was thinking about, the darkest moment of her life, was at a smoothie shop and gave her a mustard seed. And she just continued to pass the mustard seed, which goes to my second book called Pass the Mustard Seed.
Wow.
And so sometimes we don't go through things for ourselves. So when it comes down to business and all of that, when we have the thought process that I'm going through for someone else, or you're bearing it, I would bear it for you, even strangers. We kind of put their businesses above ours. We kind of overextend ourselves to other people.
Yep.
Well, when we think of that, when you're going through, it makes going through a little bit much easier, because it's not just for you.
Right.
Anyhow, since then, I was speaking at all kinds of high schools with the Police Academy League, with DeKalb County and Fulton County, the Fulton County's District Attorney's Office, and then it starts going on through there. And in churches and all that stuff, and I was just speaking and just trying to reach as many kids. Anyhow, you know what they kept asking me?
Where's the book?
Where's the book? Do you have a book?
Because you're sharing your story, trying to inspire others.
No, yeah. How do I write a book? I don't even know how to write a book. And then I was on an interview with Angela Rice, a television host, and Mr. Dan, the president of the Apex Museum, I guess was flipping through the channels, and he called the station to get my contact information and said, "Come down to the museum. I just want to help you." So I go down there. I tell my dad this time now, "Dad, you won't believe it. The president of the Apex Museum is calling me down." So he said, "Make a list." He said, "I don't care how crazy it is, everything you want."
That's right. That's right.
Then I had a house on there.
Uh-huh.
I had car. I had about 3 cars on there.
Okay. Yeah.
And I had the book. I had everything that I ever wanted on this list. So I go into his office. He says, "How can I help you?" So I go in my briefcase, and guess what I pull out?
That
a
list.
list.
That's right.
And
That's
I
right.
handed it to him. Nervous because, you're like, a list, this is the first encounter. Anyhow, he says, "I can't help you with the house. I can't help you with any cars, but I can help you publish the book."
There you go.
And that's how it all came about. I wrote it, got it edited, formatted, published it, and had a book signing in 60 days.
Beautiful.
Had my first book signing at the Apex Museum here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Nice.
Sold out. And then from there, I used my creative juices. And where my creativity stems from is not necessarily creating something as far as, I like to create movements, but it's more so in creative marketing. How many ways can I transform this element? Like water. You can freeze it and it becomes ice, but it's still water.
Right.
You can put crystal light in it, but it's still water, right? It's color water now.
Right.
You can steam it and it's still water. You can do so many different things, but the core component of it is water. And so that's what I teach my clients. That's what I teach my members. That's what I teach my audience on how to transform or manipulate this one element that you have. It can go so far. So I help young people, the kids that I spoke to, they'll come up to me and they'll say, "Miss Lee, they don't, a lot of people who are selling drugs or who are committing crimes, they really don't want to.
Right.
That's just the means in order for them to survive and to make ends meet." So what I did was started my program with the young people, and this is how I sold 20,000 plus copies in my first year. Instead of a bag of weed in their hand, I fronted them books. Seriously.
That's good.
And so I tell them to flip these books. You flip these books. We're going to split it 60-40.
Nice.
All right. I start them off with 10. They got their parents to sign, got their parents involved. Their parents were happy. And instead of them being on the corner or going into the parking lot with, drugs or something to get them in trouble, can you imagine this young person who once people deem or fear because maybe tattoos on their face, they wear their hair, they wear this and the other, and they say, ma'am, I'm trying to change my life, and this lady came to my school, and she's telling me this is the way to make means. Now, I don't want to sell drugs, but instead of that, just switch the product. But keep their same. I'm not trying to change them because that's their whole mindset. But how do I change the perception of it, but still let them be them? Because that's what they are, and then slowly show them or expose them to
influence,
bigger things.
Little by little,
And so that's what happened. They became my affiliate marketers.
Beautiful.
It was like a street team. And so I took the business of affiliate marketing or the business of marketing and advertising and just utilized that. My young people, they're social media marketers. They help me with my social media hashtags and everything.
Nice.
And then summer, we have a summer school campus 1 week where we help publish the kids. They come into the library.
Nice.
Some of them do draw, so we figure out where everybody is at. The person who's tagging all the walls. Okay, you're the children book illustrator.
Nice.
Right. That's what you're gonna do, right?
Yeah.
And to just transform it, one, likes to rap. Okay, the editor, and then now they become competing and they write in urban fiction, like the coldest winter ever. They sit on the porch and they write about their experiences. And so it doesn't just create literacy. It also creates an escape, but it creates money. That's why they're doing it, right? Entrepreneurship, and now they're competing on who can write better. Like, man, that don't even make sense, man. That's what they be saying,
That's awesome.
a lot of times. So every summer I do that, and so we ask the public to, donate or sponsor, and then the parents, of course, come in, and that's my give back, of course, business to help more people, and just trying to create more ways on how can I help more people? How can I inspire more people to inspire others? And it all stems from this one quote from Tupac. He said, I'm not saying I'm going to change the world, but I will inspire the mind who does.
That's good. That's right. Starting with that one seed.
Because I know how it felt for a stranger to just believe in me. And so I just try to replicate that moment for so many other people, because that might be the only time they get that smile or say, or that only time when they hear, I believe in you.
That's good.
I still believe in people.
That's beautiful. Of course. That's awesome. So right now we have Inmate 1142-980. That's the title of the Desiree Lee story book.
Yes.
And you said there's a second book. Is it out, or is it you're working on it? It's out.
I'm an author of over 10 books. I have them translated. I have two books translated in Spanish and also in French.
Wow.
I have it available in 12 countries.
Beautiful.
Okay. And so with that book, that's the first beginning of the great start. But we have Pastor Mustard Seed. I also have instructional material for those who are looking to publish on a shoestring budget. Maybe they don't have the big initial investment, but get the book for $25. Because when they said put it in a book, you want to hide it from someone and put it in a book? That's what I did, and it amazes me that like all the secrets, links, steps, everything is in this book, and people would rather this than that. Anyhow, put it all in the book.
Yeah.
Also, is other inspirational stories. My daughter, she published her first book at 7 years old.
Nice.
Daily Affirmations for Children. She also has a coloring book too as well.
That's
cool.
cool.
So she helps young kids. She reads to elementary school students too as well. And so these are all the books that we have published under our umbrella of our company, and now helping other people do the same. And so that's what we do. Consultations, like you said, we have to identify what it is, actually give you actionable steps, because what I hated the most, or what I disliked the most, let me say that, is people told me what to do, but nobody told me how to do it. They will tell you how to. They would say you have a bad attitude and you need to change your attitude. But they never told that young man how to change it. And evidently he doesn't know if he keeps having it, right? So that's what we do.
Actionable items. Yes.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Say it again.
Actionable items.
That's right.
That's it.
That's it. And
Steps.
so that's my book, and it's still selling. We just changed the cover and gave it a new feel too as well. It's also on Barnes & Noble's and website. You can go to any Barnes & Noble store and order a copy. You can get a hardback copy. You can also download it too as an ebook.
Nice.
I always recommend that, don't just get the book for yourself.
Yeah.
Get it for somebody to prevent them from being incarcerated. Get it for somebody who might be going through. And get it for someone so they can know that nothing is impossible. And I think, like you said, it forced me to do that. But I think it created that to say, hey, even if you're down to nothing or feel like nothing, like when I share my story, there is no opportunities. How did you make it out? And literally it was with the mustard seed.
Beautiful. I like that.
Seriously.
That's great. I always ask, once we get through the social medias, because you're everywhere online as dleeinspires,
Yes,
right?
dleeinspires.
I love it. And then that last question is always, what kind of advice would you give yourself? And so before I ask you that question, I want to point out that part where when you went to the museum and you had your meeting, you had a list. And that's your vision. And I always tell artists they need to have a vision. They need to figure out what is it that they want. Because when opportunities like that come up, it's not that that person's going to give you all those things. It's that now you're on the winning side, like a gambler on a streak.
Right.
So they gamble more.
Right.
So that's when you start winning and you start feeling good about yourself and the creative flow is coming out. That's when you need to start thinking about those things that you want in your life.
Right.
And in negotiation, you always ask for the sky, and somewhere in there in that ask list is always going to be that one thing you actually need. But you ask for more, so then I can't give you the house, I can't give you the car, but I can help you with that book.
Right.
So that's how a negotiation also works, where you talk to somebody who can help you with certain things, and in your mind or in your words, you reach a little bit higher so that they're willing to go ahead and work with you on those things that you really do need. And you never know. Maybe they're rich and they're like, sure, I got you a house.
Right. Seriously, because you're right. I think that's the hardest question for anybody to ask is, what do you want? I think that's the most difficult question ever. Because, like you said, somebody could say, hey, look, I got $10,000 to invest in your business.
Right.
And you don't even have a business plan.
Right.
You don't even have a list. You don't have that, so you're absolutely
You got to be
right.
ready. You got to be ready.
What I would tell my younger self.
Yes, let's do that.
Is, don't take anything personal. Don't take it personal. To be more empathetic to people. Sometimes a person may be going through something that the reason why they may not like it or whatever the case may be, maybe it's not for the right time. When someone says no, it means that you're not asking the wrong person. So I would tell myself to keep asking.
Yeah.
Don't take it personal and just keep asking.
I love it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is great.
I appreciate it.
Yes. Well, we're going to follow up. I know I got some things to talk to you about before we
go.
go.
I'm excited about it, though. I'm very excited. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. This is DTM, Delta Tango Mike. Make sure you follow D. Lee Inspires. We're going to connect and have more to share with you later. This is Delta Tango Mike, coffee break with DTM. This is my coffee cup. It's time to refill it. See you next time. Thank you very much. Peace out.